What led you to
Uh,
entrepreneurship?
Background, basically, I grew up in a small town in Huntland, Tennessee, which probably a lot of people don't know. I graduated with 90 people, or actually, I had only like 150 in my whole school, I think. Grew up, my mom and dad owned a bar. I got up every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, sweeping the floor, filling the drink box, and yeah, I was brought up in an entrepreneurship type of environment. My mom worked at a hat factory for a little bit and then went to college, graduated criminal justice, minor in psychology, minor in sociology. Wanted to be a cop until I found out kind of what they made and
Hmm.
what they went through, and I absolutely just was like, no. Mom, I need a job. And she started making a couple phone calls for me and got some interviews and worked my way into a small loan boutique place and then got into banking and the rest was history from there. But definitely definitely was brought up into that. But after 18 years of being in corporate world and being told what to do, great experience. But I definitely like where we're at today. But
So all of that has led to obviously you being your own boss with our company.
so I think one of the most pivotal points when I broke into, and I think this will be good for everybody that comes out of corporate, you don't have that every 2 week paycheck. And I think one of the biggest things is I was, doing quite well in banking,
Hmm.
senior vice president of the bank. You know, everything was on autopilot, getting that paycheck every 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
you get into entrepreneurship and then all of a sudden you get through that first 2 weeks and you don't have a check. And you're like, shit. Oh
Yeah.
my God, what's going on?
Stress.
And then, but then, after you've done it for a little bit, closed my first deal and I think I made like $15,000. I'm like, all right, we can work with this. But
Awesome.
yeah, that was the first aha moment. And actually, I remember I was the first one to break out because I worked on a team
Yeah.
inside the commercial bank, and I was the first one that got out and took that jump, a leap of faith per se. But I remember getting the first phone call from one of my other colleagues, and he was like, "How is it?" And I said, "Man," I said, "Dude, it sucks first 2 weeks when you don't get that check."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's once you get going, it's awesome. I got my first truck. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was black. My dad took me to the lot because he was pissed off that he bought my brother a used car prior to me,
Hmm.
and it was always breaking down. So he surprised me one day and took me to the lot because he was buying a new truck, and I was so humble back then, and I was like, I wanted it, but I didn't want him to have to pay for everything. So I got a black truck in Nashville, Tennessee, without air conditioner.
Oh wow.
And I remember, dude, my mom sees this YouTube. Mom, you're gonna laugh at this. You're gonna
Is your
you're
mum
gonna remember
watching?
this. Remember
Hi,
this one.
Mrs. Hunter.
Yeah, because I remember it like it's yesterday. I after like 2 months, man, this was blistering ass sun, like it was hot.
Yeah.
I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, dude, how do we break it to dad that I need an AC? And she was like, "Why didn't you get one?" I was like, "I just didn't want to." But it was $800 to get an air conditioner. So
Yeah.
I went to my dad, tucked my tail, went to my dad, and he's like, "I told you so." My dad was very good about that. I told you so. But dad would always push me. He paid the truck completely off, but
Yeah.
he basically wrote me a letter of notes out and gave me a slip every month and said, "Hey, you owe me $200." And so when I was sweeping the floors, he was writing us checks out and made me pay my insurance,
Hmm.
made me open a bank account and everything. So I think that really, I look back on it, that sucked. It was horrible as a kid
Yeah.
because I think I was the only one getting pushed like that. It feels like in high school and coming up, but I think it helped me. You never know the extent that it is when you're in real life and you've got no backdrop, but
Yeah.
really helped me understand the checks and balances of owning a business for sure.
Yeah. Probably made you very independent from an early age as well and realize the value of money and the value of working, would you say as well?
I think you're a perfect example of knowing that I'm very independent sometimes. Yeah, stubborn, independent.
Give us an insight into how you define success. What is success personally and professionally for you?
I think that has changed, and I think a lot of people it'll change throughout the years, right? Success for me, um, I look back on this, and success for me when I first started my first real job was making $50,000, right? And I came out of college. I think my first job was, God, making 25,000, and I thought I was on top of the world.
Yeah,
And then I'm like, you know what? Success is going to be making $50,000.
yeah,
And then I get that increase and it's 50,000. I'm like, shit, what 50,000, man? My goal is 100,000.
yeah.
And you get to the 100,000 and you're like, what do I have from 25 to 100? I've got more assets, more liability, more stress,
More responsibility.
more responsibility, right?
Yeah,
And I think early on, people, they look at that and we think that's what makes us happy and what makes us feel successful, but it's really not. I
interesting.
think the biggest thing of me now is having time
Yeah,
to do what I want, or sometimes not do what you want, but at least have that option to do what you want. I think is the biggest thing that's been my aha moment that, you know,
so you're
has
talking
been.
really about the freedom to choose how you spend your time rather than being in that 9 to 5 job where, you have a boss to report to and everything. It's more about being able to manage your own time, how you want to manage it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then who you want to spend that time with. I think
Right.
that's one of the biggest aha moments I've had in the last year is, spend your time with quality people that's going to get you ahead
Yeah.
and not set you back and not cause you a lot of stress. And I think you've been through a couple things in my life where
Yeah.
it was a
I've
shit
been
show.
I've been privy to your shit
Yeah,
shows, James, and we
yeah.
won't we won't go into those too much
So
today. I
everybody
know.
that's watching this knows that we'll get into this, but we've been
They say that in business and entrepreneurship, to surround yourself with the people who are, going to support you in your goal, support you in where you want to be in your life in 5, 10 years, and also people that you can aspire to. And I know from knowing you for that long and being around you that your circle of friends and what you do outside of business and the way that you socialize has changed enormously over the
100%.
so explain a little bit, was that purposeful? Did you set out to change, your social group and how you spend your time? Or did it just sort of happen on its
So
own?
let me do a little disclaimer. Anybody that's ever spent time with me when 10 years ago or something, I'll never take that take that back. It was a wild ride, but it wasn't getting me anywhere. But I think as you grow as a person, you really understand what's important to you in life, what feeds your need, feeds your soul, feeds your wants. I think it's that's a great bring up is because my friendships and everything has dramatically changed. And not to say that they're not great people. I still see them out from time to time
Mm-hmm.
at bars or whatever restaurants, but I just don't focus my time on happy hours. A happy hour to me is
Yeah.
happily driving home with a new deal now,
Yeah.
or being in Colombia, relaxing, even though me and you were both out of the country sometimes, but we were still working.
Yeah.
And that's my aha, like, hey, this is what we wanted to do. So
What about philanthropy as well?
yeah, um, if people don't know, I actually had a big idea, who I actually brought to one of my best friends, Dave Garza, back years and years ago. I think 2008, 2009. I've always had a knack for children. I have no kids, no girlfriend, um, no responsibility when it comes to personal relationships right now, but I always had a knack for kids, right? And I dated a girl with an autistic child years and years ago, and we broke up, but I felt like there was something there that I felt like needed to be more publicized. It was a disease that needed more publicized. um, it it really hit me. And so I started tried to start a 501(c) non for profit that basically took children with autism, and they're very good at drawing and stuff like just phenomenal kids.
As artists,
Yeah,
the
as
art that they,
artists,
yeah.
yeah, and started a clothing line with it. Me and my buddy, um, who's very artistic and likes draw and then and dressing up himself and stuff like that. But started a clothing line with it, and the first thing that was really the aha moment is when we were wearing one of our shirts that one of the children had put together. Friends with Sheriff Scott at the time, who was a sheriff,
Hmm.
and we see each other out in public and stuff like that. And Sheriff Scott calls me one day. I remember it. He calls me and he's like, "Hey, can you come to my office? I need to talk to you about something." And I'm like, "Oh my God,
What's
man.
going
Like, what
on?
the hell is Sheriff's calling me?" He comes in my office and he brings in the gang, the head of the I forgot what his name was, but the head of the gang department.
Okay.
And I'm like sitting there going, "Wow, what do I do?"
Hmm.
And they said, "Hey, we know you started this company. You're doing great things, your arts and stuff." He said, "But I don't think you realize that the artwork that you put on this T-shirt is actually a representation of a gang in the prison system,
Oh my
and
God.
it's a some kind of message to the other members."
Like secret message.
Yeah,
Oh
and so.
no.
So beknownst to me, I guess one of maybe the kids saw it on TV or something and it stuck in his head and he started drawing it on his shirt. So
Oh
that
my
was
God.
my aha moment that basically I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. But, it's always been dear in my heart. Didn't work out just because anybody that started 501(c) knows that number one, it's a lot of work. Number two,
Hmm.
you have to get a lot of buy-in. And number three, it's very politicalized in a sense that sometimes people think that you're trying to do the wrong thing when really it's really dear into your heart and you're trying to do the right thing.
Do you want to give an example of something that sort of sticks in your mind that was tough and that you got through?
I mean, I think, you know, this is blown up on social media a lot. Everybody sees the success, but they don't see the failures and behind all the success. But and they don't see the work that we've put in over the years. And um, we'll talk about this a little bit later. But they don't understand that you were a survivor of stage three and sitting by your bedside, and we were doing deals as you're getting chemotherapy treatment.
I'm going through stage three cancer three separate times and it coming back each time. Particularly the third time where I started treatment and it wasn't working for the
Hmm.
first 4 months, and it was one of the most aggressive forms of cancer that you could have, and the tumor was quite big. Um, and that's when I realized that the business and my career got me through it. We've got pictures of me in the hospital bed. You drove me up to the hospital. It was a 2 hour drive away. You drove me up there on one of these occasions because my husband was away. And there's a picture of you sitting by my bedside and me on my laptop. And I don't think I've ever worked so hard in my life. And I think I didn't want to deal with what was happening to me physically and mentally. And it was a way for me to distract myself. And I think, that year of the treatment I went through, we probably did the most business we've ever done. You pushed me out of my comfort zone in terms of the networking and getting to know people where, I'm not naturally that person, and that's what I enjoy about our partnership is you're constantly driving that, and you're driving me to be better, in those areas. And obviously you're a numbers guy, and I'm more of the marketing person, and dotting the i's and crossing the t's, where you're more.
No, that's true. I mean, and just to go back on the business relationship, anybody's watching, I think the good takeaway here is if you are going to get a business partner, if you're the same type of person, same type of personality, same driven ego, it's hard.
Yeah.
I remember, when I go back, Bill, if you're watching this, Mr. Blevins, he
We love
always,
you, Bill.
uh, I hate you, but I love you too, man. Well, he always said this is the number one thing that when people come in, they want money is ask, what's the money for?
Yeah.
And he said 85% of the time it's going to be to buy the partner out.
Oh, wow,
And
really?
it was always like that in
So when
banking.
so when they're coming to borrow money from the commercial lender, most of the time it's to buy their
Buy out
business
the
partner
business
out.
partner because they're
Wow.
pissed or, you know,
Yeah.
everything's everything. I think it's the where the metal hits the road in business relationships is when we have disagreements or we have issues or things. It's we're not focused on the same things in the business pretty much.
Yeah.
So we understand, what our role is, but if you're if you're both type A personalities and the shit hits the fan per se,
And the egos are battling, then it's
yeah,
it's not going to
then it's not
work.
even
Yeah.
like, you're still gonna have a little bit of ego battle here and there, but it's not gonna be as intense. But and then when it gets to that point, if you've got the same personalities, it blows up, and then there's no
Yeah.
getting back on the railroad track per se.
I agree. I think it makes the relationship and the business, day to day smoother. And, just from a common sense point of view, like you should always be looking for a business partner that brings what you're lacking in, right? And, whenever then you're dealing with whatever clients you're dealing with, whether it's B2C, like us, or B2B, then, you're bringing the whole package at that point. And certainly for us, I definitely gel with certain clients better, depending on their personality, and you gel with others. I tend to take, obviously the international clients more with my background, and you'll take a lot of the local clients, and the local guys who are selling commercial property. You'll deal with them more, and I feel like because we're like chalk and cheese, it brings a lot more not only to us and makes the business run smoother, but it brings a lot more to the clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How have we set ourselves apart in the industry and commercial real estate, and what do you feel like we do differently than other commercial agents,
Yeah.
and how we're going about this differently in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very obvious to people that we are extremely different. We're a bit of they call it the purple cow. I don't know if you've ever read that marketing book, The Purple Cow, but we're definitely the purple cow, right? In the commercial real estate arena for many reasons. But and that really was, I think, driven at the beginning by, even though obviously you have, you know, already 20 years experience as a lender in commercial real estate. And my first job when I first graduated university in the UK was with a commercial real estate company. And I've been involved in commercial real estate like you for, over 20, years. First in Europe, obviously, and then in the US with you. But we didn't really set out to fit in, but more than that, we were told that we definitely wouldn't fit in. And I would go as far as to say we were told, don't even bother because you will
Mm,
not be accepted in the industry, even though we came to the table with so many years' experience. And we were told that the only way you would fit in, I don't want to call it the old boys club, but I guess that's only the only way to,
mm,
describe it. And that's how it was described to us. You won't fit in with the old boys club because you didn't have parents that had already set up a brokerage here years ago. You didn't have any, you didn't want to join the traditional brokerages. You wanted to set up your own deal as entrepreneurs. You'll never make it. You'll
mm,
never be accepted, right? So my thinking in terms of the branding was, well, if we're going to be treated like that, then let's own who we are. Let's own why we're different and be that purple cow,
Mm.
right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too is obviously you know this, and probably everybody else knows it too, but I haven't changed, right? And that's one of the things I am not changing,
Yeah.
right? So everybody knows me. Here's what you get. You get a funny ass sarcastic guy that I do this because you got to enjoy life, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I do it. People think I'm an ass sometimes or I'm sarcastic. I don't care. I have fun. And that's the
Yeah.
way I release some of my stress. But the other thing is when I'm serious, I'm serious. And when I'm negotiating with you,
Yeah.
I'm negotiating with you. So, it, it just, yeah, I mean, we do things completely different than most organizations out there. What kind of advice can you give some people out here that are aspiring to, be entrepreneurs that are just starting out in commercial real estate? I mean, obviously,
Mhm.
people don't know we created the course, thefigure.com,
Mhm.
where we're helping residential agents break into commercial real estate. I guess, give me the top two things that you feel that residential agents should be ready for, or
Mhm.
maybe focus on, or be ready to fail at. That they're going to
Mhm.
they're going to fail.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
and then how do you succeed from there?
I'm all about marketing and branding, as you know, right? So my answer is obviously going to focus on that because that's my strengths and it's what I love. So, um, I would say, but I think it's about differentiating yourself and owning who you are. Reflected that and be able to work more with international clients and provide a better service to them than all of the local competition that I was up against. And there was a lot of reflection behind that. And it starts with, again, owning who you are, what makes you different, and then being able to communicate that quickly and effectively through your brand. So that's the first piece of advice I would give.
Let me add something on that, and I'll tell you this is what is an aha moment here. Is this is what has helped us through the downtimes actually, because um, people might not know this, but when we first started out, I was literally not anything about big picture person. I'm like, let me get a deal now, let me make some money,
Yeah.
let me go to the next deal, but still keep that relationship going. But you were always like, let's sit down and talk about like the
Strategy.
strategy and the big world and what's going on. I'm like, shit, I don't care what's going on in the world, man. I'm trying to get some business, but
I don't want to get into a situation where I'm buying leads. I want to do it through building relationships and through providing such a phenomenal service that not only are those clients coming back to us, but they're referring 10 of their friends to us as well. And that, we've made that happen. And that was very central to what I wanted to do.
ask for the business.
Yeah,
And my mentor, Bill, bring him up again, he said the hardest thing to do in being an entrepreneur or running your own business is asking for business.
yeah,
And it's true.
yeah,
It is amazing how many people will close a deal but not ask for the business at that given moment.
yeah. And
That's the
timing is everything too, right?
that's when they're
Yeah,
happy.
yeah.
Why the hell would you not ask for business when they're happy?
I know.
You know?
Well,
It's kind of like you're gonna ask your wife for something when she's pissed off, but you ask her to do something when she's happy.
yeah. And on that marital advice from James that everybody
That's my
can
psychology and sociology degree coming out of me right now.
on that note, I think we'll wrap it up
Perfect.
for episode one. But thanks for listening, guys. There'll be more from us coming every week. So don't hesitate to tune in and learn more about how our entrepreneurship journey went and how we really broke the mold in commercial real
Or
estate.
how we got the derailed train back on track, guys. So
More like
stay
it.
tuned. We got more coming.
See you
Have a good
guys.
day.